the Finance Minister can tell us if those numbers are still consistent in terms of lost revenue, if that's been updated, to give us an idea of, if that were to carry forward with the original plan of 2018, how that would affect lost revenue overall.
To the member opposite, a good question. Yes, we have not reviewed it since, but we do believe those numbers still will stand. And ultimately, yes, it would be $96 million per year that we'd lose in revenue on those properties.
So just to clarify that, so $96 million per year, because my understanding was in 2018 it was more of a targeted double tax elimination as opposed to a full-blown double tax elimination. So the estimates that I'm hearing, if that's correct, it's 96 million per year lost revenue. Is that correct?
Yes, once the final 4th or 5th year is realized, then that's where it tops out, yes.
Okay, thank you, Minister. Whenever we talk about the double tax, I know the official opposition has put forward a motion on the double tax as well. There's a lot of organizations, pressures economically from the private sector on the double tax and the effect it has on the economy here in New Brunswick. And I understand, of course, we talk about lost revenue, and I understand the government's apprehension with that. But I guess what I fail to see, and I guess one of the criticism I'd have, is the potential for actual economic growth and as a result of the elimination of the double tax and the revenue that could be brought into the province because of the growth from the elimination of double tax. So I'm just curious if the the Finance and Treasury Board has done any significant research reports or studies that would show how eliminating the double tax would actually benefit the economy and help grow the private sector.
Through you to the member opposite, leader of his party. Looking at the so-called double tax, what would it do? We do have, the latest impact we have is an economic impact analysis when we were considering it, and if you wish, we can certainly give you that.
Thank you, Minister. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I guess just to question that impact analysis, I guess I would ask how in-depth that would be, because when I think of impact, I think of negative. Like, how does this negatively impact the province's finances? But does it really show the positive impacts, and how comprehensive would that study have been to give us an accurate understanding of exactly the good and the bad from the double tax elimination?
I am told that it is both, showing the positives and the negatives, so you'll see the positives too, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Don't mean to drill down too hard on this, but with that study, can we also see, I guess, the process by which those numbers were received? Because a lot of times, you can get the conclusion of a study, but really the conclusion of that study greatly depends on the process that got us to the conclusion. I guess I just want to ensure that it was comprehensive enough to see the benefits of the double tax elimination and not just the negative impacts and lost revenue.
Through you, Chair, to the member opposite, leader of his party. Absolutely, you can see how it's broken down, and you can absolutely see what approach was used as well. I mean, we talk about transparency, so here's an opportunity. So yes, we'll be totally transparent with you.
Great, thank you, Minister. I look forward to having a look at that. Staying on the same topic of double tax elimination, if there is a comprehensive study out there to the pros and the cons of that, I'm wondering in relation to housing. We hear a lot, especially over the last several years, about the housing crunch. And I can tell you, as an MLA, as other MLAs in here on both sides of the aisle could attest to, housing is a huge, huge issue in this province today. Positive in the sense that there's a lot of demand even from outside New Brunswick. Like, I know in my community of Minto, I'm even hearing it in Chipman and in places around Marysville and different parts of my riding. We're getting a lot of outside investors that are coming into New Brunswick, purchasing property, renovating, fixing it up, and renting those properties out. That's the positive side. The unfortunate side is, because of that, rental rates are often increased because of the renovations and, most importantly, the double tax which is put on those properties, non-owner occupied properties. So how has there been a study, I mean, aside from the pros and cons fiscally to the elimination of double tax, has there been any significant reports or studies on how the elimination of double tax could actually help the housing crisis in this province and spur more development, more incentive for landlords and entrepreneurs to purchase more property, build more properties, and see more of their investment returned as a business model? I guess at the end of the day, what I'm asking, has there been any significant studies on the housing and how the double tax would help in that regard?
Well, we're undertaking a study right now which also involves that, and that's that 90-day rental review. So far, we've got 5,000 responses, and they are not just from renters, they're also from the landlords themselves as well. So we're gathering the data, we're gathering the evidence, and it will be done on May the 10th is the day that we're planning to have that, the timeline for the release of that. So there are responses coming all the time from landlords as well as the renters, so we are expecting that they are, and we do know actually that they're talking about the extra tax, yes.
Thank you, Minister. I really think New Brunswick is at a pivotal moment, you know, as we go through this pandemic. We're seeing unprecedented people moving to New Brunswick. I mean, even, again, living in a smaller town, village myself, I see it. I see newcomers, and it's a good thing to see. People from Ontario, you know, and the housing, from what I understand, the hot housing markets across the country, and possibly even the U.S. It seems to be worrisome in a sense. It reminds me of 2008 on where it leads, but nonetheless, it is what it is today. It's hot all over, and New Brunswick, I think, is doing exceptionally, has exceptional opportunities, and I'm just concerned that we could really drill down on those opportunities if we took another look at that double tax, and to ensure that the incentive is there for outside investors to invest in New Brunswick and not just purchase properties that are here, which they're doing now, but really what's more important is that we get new construction, new builds, and I know we're getting some new builds, but even to outpace that, because I believe the demand is here now, and the demand will grow as more people look to New Brunswick to move here. But if the supply is not there, if you've got high demand for rentals and ownership of houses, but the supply isn't there to match that demand, then I think we're going to miss an opportunity. I really do. I think we're going to miss an opportunity for even greater growth, both in population, which we desperately need, and in economic development, private sector investment, which we desperately need. So in relation to housing specifically, like the Apartment Owners Association, I thought put forward a very clear concept of how the double tax impacts them as developers and as landlords, and not just them, but most importantly tenants, because obviously if you're a developer or landlord and you're receiving that much tax, or you have to pay that much tax, it's no question you're going to pass that on, and any business person has to do that. And as a result, tenants are paying more than maybe what they should be paying because of those double taxes that we have here in New Brunswick. So now I know there's a housing review going up, and I know there's a 90-day time frame on that, which is interesting. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, what what approach is government going to take on taxation as it coincides with that consultation process, because I'm worried we're going to hear a lot of people saying, A, I can't find a place to live, or B, I can find a place to live, but I can't afford the place that is open to me. And we're going to miss in all of that, which is a demand issue, and we're going to miss the supply issue from the other side saying, you know, I would put more buildings up, I would invest more money in New Brunswick, I would, you know, create more opportunity for those housing apartments and stuff to be open, but I can't do it under the current system. So I guess how complex is that consultation process going to be? How comprehensive is it going to be to ensure that we're not just hearing from people who have legitimate concerns, I will say, legitimate concerns about housing as tenants, but that we also see the other side of the coin from developers and landlords saying, you know, here's why, you know, we can't offer more or grow more to meet the demand in terms of the supply.
I guess the couple of words that you were using there, remember, is comprehensive and complex. Yes, it is all of that. I mean, you know what? There is success stories all through the province right now, and you talked about the immigrants coming in, which I think is wonderful. I love it. And I applaud the work, as I did earlier, as I was talking to the member from the opposition, of the people at OMB and of Minister Dunn and Deputy Minister Perron, who are doing great work there. I look around Moncton, we have 9 cranes. I think it was 9 cranes right now. The member from Moncton Centre may correct me, it may be even more than that. But 9 cranes up in Moncton at last count, and that's the most they've ever had. And those are those big cranes that people actually go up in, which is crazy. But anyway, story for another day. Anyway, what approach is government going to take on taxation? Well, we won't know until we get this review done, but it is a review, and we talked about 5,000 responses. Of those 5,000 responses we have so far, 850 of them are from landlords and from developers. So we are listening to them, and it isn't too long to wait, I think. We're talking another, just over a month, isn't it? A month and 3 days from now. So we will keep New Brunswickers informed, and certainly we'll keep the opposition parties informed as well. But there are exciting things on the forefront for New Brunswick. We talk about reinventing New Brunswick, and we mean it. You know what? We've had an opportunity to come through this COVID and come out the other side, hopefully out the other side, in decent shape. And it's a tribute to all New Brunswickers. So this is another one of the things that we've got to work on, absolutely. But we are. This 90-day rental review, I think, will shed a lot of light on all aspects of the industry. Thank you.
The fact that we've got a 90-day review, I commend the government for that. Specific to that review, will it be made public in terms of, you know, not just the outcome of the review, but some of the submissions of the review? That's question one. And secondly, if in that review double tax is highlighted as a major issue to development and growth in housing, to benefit or to the detriment, I guess, of both landlords and tenants, will the government commit to doing something about the double tax as it did in 2018 to ensure that that is mitigated as much as possible, the negative effects of that double tax?
Through the chair to the member opposite and leader of his party. So just a couple things. Will it be made public? Yes, this is going to be a public document. We should note that it's a review under the Chief Operating Officer. It's not under any one department or anything. It's under the Chief Operating Officer with support from SMB, ONB, ELG, Social Development, Economic, ESIC is involved as well. PEDAL has been invited. There's a ton of engagement going on. So yes, but anyway, it goes back to, is it a public document? Yes, it will be a public document. It will be presented to government, and it is under the review of the Chief Operating Officer. As to what's in it, I can't predispose anything or presumpte anything that will or won't be into it until it's done. But it is only a little over a month away, so we'll find out together.
Thank you, Minister. I know that was a loaded question, and I kind of anticipated that answer. But I think, I'm quite confident that double tax is going to be part of, I mean, the landlords aren't, I doubt are going to, I mean, I'm sure they've got many issues, but I can almost assure double tax is going to be part of that. I think we know that. And again, I mean, one thing that, you know, the government had campaigned on during the campaign, committed to in 2018, was that reduction to elimination of double tax. And you know, again, if this is a driving factor that the apartment owners and landlords and developers are saying is an issue, and I think the problem is that too. Tenants may say, again, those two things: I can't find a place to rent, and if I can, it's too high. They may, average Joe may not understand why that's too high, that I'm paying this high rent, but landlords and developers would understand that double tax plays a major part of that, which is passed on to tenants. So I guess I'd not so much put it in a question, because I don't think I'm going to get a different answer, but I will admonish, I guess, the Minister of Finance and the government, through you, the Chair, and encourage them that when that double tax is highlighted in this report, as I am quite confident will be, that they do begin to take some measures into reducing that double tax, because this has been going on for years. I mean, this battle has been fought for many, many years, and I still believe strongly that it is the elimination of double tax is one of the main solutions, I think, to economic development, to the housing crisis, and all the other things that we face here. And I think in terms of revenue loss, yes, I understand there's going to be short-term revenue loss, but I think the economic development on the latter end of that would more than make up for it in the end. But I'm going to switch gears here very briefly. I don't want to take too much time. Again, the other committee members here were gracious enough to let me jump ahead. So I want to talk, I guess, about the forecast or the future in terms of budgets and what we're looking at. I remember in 2008, what was known as the housing market bubble and the subsequent crash had a major global impact. With what we're seeing today, is Treasury, Finance and Treasury Board looking at what we're seeing today with the real estate market? Do they have concerns that we could see a repeat of 2008? And if those concerns are there, is there anything that Finance and Treasury Board is doing to help mitigate the effects of such a devastating economic issue if we do see a type of repeat of 2008?
Yeah, are we concerned? For sure. CMHC came out, and they're highly concerned as well that the houses selling, like in Moncton, are selling for, they're overvalued right now. It is our thought that it's premature to take steps to, change that today. It isn't like $1 million house in Vancouver or Toronto. The housing market in New Brunswick is still very affordable. But are they overvalued? Yes, probably they are, according to CMHC. And are we concerned? Yes, we are.
Thank you, Minister. And yeah, I mean, I fully understand 2008 had much more to do with mortgages as opposed to housing. But there are some similarities when we look at, kind of what's happening today with the overvalued real estate market. And again, it's good short term. I just worry that it's like a bubble that could potentially burst and the effects. So I do have more questions to ask, but out of respect for my colleagues who let me again kind of jump ahead, I'm going to defer my questions and my time to the I believe the member from Kent South, I believe. Or, anyway, I'll leave that up to the chair.
Okay.
I'll end my questions here and pick up tomorrow. I want to thank the minister and his staff for answering these questions and being part of this today. Thank you very much.